Welcome to the It Factor. We're Jemmy and Nye, exploring a new blog post by Mr. Len Kaplan, CEO of CDML, a managed service provider in Queens, NY, offering network management, voice over IP, unified communications as a service, cybersecurity, compliance, infrastructure as a service, cloud solutions, and Microsoft 365 and Azure solutions. If you're a small business owner or manage IT for a growing organization, this episode is for you.
It really is.
Yeah.
The article we're getting into today is titled, Why EDR and ITDR Are Like a Parent's Watchful Eye at the Beach. And, what Len Kaplan does here is just brilliantly deconstruct this massive, dangerous illusion of safety that so many businesses are currently operating under.
Yeah, that illusion is real. So, the core mission for our deep dive today is figuring out why the traditional cybersecurity setup, right? Like the standard stuff that you've probably relied on for the last decade is, well, it's genuinely no longer enough to protect your livelihood.
Exactly.
And we're going to get into the actual mechanics of how modern attacks happen and how layered security stops them without, drowning in a sea of technical jargon.
Right, because we really need to look at the how and the why here.
Right.
If you just buy security tools without actually understanding how they function, you end up with what the article perfectly describes as false confidence.
False confidence, yeah. And just a quick reminder before we really get into the weeds here, new blog posts in this series from CDML are published every Tuesday and Thursday. So if you want to stay up to date, definitely check those out.
Yeah, they're super helpful.
So to set the stage, let's use that core analogy from the article about going to the beach. Imagine taking a small child to the ocean. You put a little yellow inflatable floaty around their waist and let them run into the water.
Right.
That floaty is your traditional security toolkit. It's your standard antivirus software, your network firewall, and your multi-factor authentication, or MFA.
Yeah, and think about it. You wouldn't send a kid into the waves with just a floaty and then, turn your back to read a book, right?
No, absolutely not.
Because the current could pull them out, or the floaty could deflate.
Hmm.
I mean, it reduces risk, sure, but it is not a substitute for active supervision. Yet that turn-your-back approach is exactly how millions of organizations manage their IT right now.
Oh, totally. They just install basic antivirus, check the compliance box, and assume they're totally impenetrable.
Exactly. Let's break down exactly why that floaty isn't enough anymore. Standard antivirus, the legacy stuff most of us grew up with, works on signatures. It essentially has a massive dictionary of known bad code. If a file matches a signature in the dictionary, it gets blocked.
Right, but it's entirely passive, isn't it?
Completely passive and reactive. It only knows what it's been taught to recognize. But modern cybercriminals know this, right? So they don't use the exact same file twice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they use polymorphic malware, which automatically changes its own code signature every single time it infects a new system. So to a traditional antivirus checking its dictionary, this brand new, unique file just doesn't match anything on the bad list.
So it just lets it right through the front door.
Exactly.
I mean, my analogy for this is always it's like locking your business's front door, but never actually checking if someone, stole a key or just climbed in through a window.
That's a great way to put it.
But wait, let me push back on this for a second, because we mentioned MFA earlier. Getting that text message or app notification with a 6-digit code when you log in, doesn't that stop unauthorized access even if the antivirus fails?
Well, it used to. But attackers have evolved. We are now seeing massive spikes in things like session hijacking and adversary-in-the-middle attacks.
Okay, unpack those mechanics for us. How are they bypassing the 6-digit code?
So when you log into your email and you type your password in your MFA code, the server verifies you and then sends a tiny file back to your browser called a session cookie. That cookie tells the server, hey, this person is fully verified. Don't ask them for a password again for the next 30 days.
Right, so you don't have to log in every 5 minutes.
Exactly. So attackers, they don't even bother trying to guess your MFA code anymore. They use phishing emails to trick you into logging into a fake page, intercept that session cookie, and copy it to their own browser.
Wait, really? So to the server, the attacker's computer looks exactly like your computer? The system just thinks the MFA was already completed.
Exactly. They just slide right in.
Yeah.
And because they used a legitimate, albeit stolen session, your traditional firewall and antivirus see absolutely nothing wrong. It doesn't look like a virus. It just looks like you logging in to do some work.
That is terrifying.
It is. And this is the danger of false confidence. You think you're protected by the floaty, but the attacker's already in the water with you.
Okay, so since the floaty isn't enough, who is the parent actively watching the water to make sure the kid is actually safe?
So that watchful parent in the cybersecurity world is endpoint detection and response, or EDR.
EDR. Okay, so an endpoint is just any physical device, right? Like your laptop, your office workstation, the company server.
Correct. EDR is an advanced software agent that sits on those devices. But it doesn't just scan files against a dictionary. It deeply monitors the actual behavior of the device in real time.
Okay, so give us an example. What does bad behavior look like to EDR if it's not looking at a list of viruses?
Let's say you open a perfectly normal-looking Word document that an attacker sent you. Traditional antivirus scans the document, sees no known malware signatures, and says it's clean. You open it.
Right.
But hidden inside that document is a macro, a tiny script. That script secretly tells your computer's built-in command prompt to silently reach out to a server in Russia and download a payload.
And the antivirus missed it because the Word document itself wasn't a virus.
Exactly.
Hmm.
But EDR is watching the behavior. It sees that Microsoft Word, the word processing program, is suddenly trying to launch a hidden command shell and initiate an outbound web connection to a foreign IP address.
Which is obviously weird.
Right. EDR recognizes that as incredibly suspicious behavior. Word processors shouldn't be launching command shells.
Right, so it's watching the context.
Yes. Or consider ransomware. If a process suddenly starts opening hundreds of your Excel and PDF files and rapidly encrypting them, changing their file extensions at superhuman speed, EDR instantly flags that behavior as a ransomware attack in progress.
Okay, wait, I have to ask this because I know what every listener is thinking right now. Attackers move so incredibly fast, right? Does EDR just act as a fancy alarm system that goes off too late, or does it actually, do something about it?
That is a vital question. EDR answers things in real time, like, should this device be isolated? It's highly configurable. When it detects an anomaly, it doesn't always just pull the plug immediately. It generates rich telemetry, a detailed timeline of exactly what happened, and sends an alert to a security operations center so a human analyst can review it.
But what if it is ransomware? You don't have time for a human to review it. Minutes matter. Ransomware can lock up a whole business so fast.
And that's where automation saves the day. For high-severity behaviors, like rapid file encryption, EDR can be said to automatically and instantaneously isolate the endpoint.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this mechanism is fascinating. It interacts with the local firewall at the operating system level to immediately drop all network traffic, completely disconnecting the laptop from the internet and the company servers.
So it's totally cut off.
Yes, but it leaves a single, secure, encrypted tunnel open only to the security team. It traps the threat on that single machine. The attacker can't move to the server, the ransomware can't spread, but your IT team can still remotely access the isolated machine to investigate.
That is incredibly clever. Turning a company-wide catastrophe into basically a minor inconvenience on one single laptop. By the way, real quick, if you're finding this breakdown of EDR helpful, please take a quick second to click the thumbs up button. It really helps us out.
So EDR is brilliant at watching the endpoint. It's the parent watching the water. But as the article points out, we have a massive blind spot if that's all we have.
Right. Because EDR watches the water, but what happens if a stranger on the beach tries to steal the parent's identity to lure the child away?
Exactly. If I steal your credentials and log into your Microsoft 365 account from my own computer in another country, your company's EDR agent on your physical laptop sitting on your desk sees absolutely nothing. Your laptop isn't involved in the attack.
Right, because the laptop isn't doing anything malicious. The user is.
Precisely. And that brings us to the other vital component of modern security, ITDR, or Identity Threat Detection and Response. While EDR monitors the devices, ITDR strictly monitors the identities, the user accounts, the logins, the permissions.
Because, the perimeter of the office doesn't really exist anymore. We're all working from coffee shops, living rooms, hybrid work setups. The identity basically is the new corporate perimeter.
Exactly. So we need tools that watch how those identities behave. ITDR looks for specific advanced red flags. One of the most critical mechanisms it uses is checking for impossible travel.
Okay, I love this one. How does impossible travel detection actually work?
It relies on metadata. Let's say your account successfully logs in and checks email from an IP address mapped to Queens, New York. 45 minutes later, that exact same account successfully logs in from an IP address mapped to a server in Eastern Europe.
Right, which is physically impossible. You can't travel 4,000 miles in 45 minutes.
Right. A traditional system might just see 2 successful logins with the correct password and allow both. ITDR calculates the physical distance, looks at the time delta, realizes it's impossible, and instantly flags it as a compromised identity. It can automatically freeze the account.
What else is ITDR looking for besides geography?
Abnormal behavior. It establishes a baseline of what is normal for every single employee. If Bob in accounting usually logs in between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. to access financial spreadsheets, that's his baseline. If Bob's account suddenly logs in at 2 a.m. on a Sunday and tries to download 50 gigabytes of confidential client data,
ITDR steps in.
exactly. Because even if the password is correct, the behavior is deeply abnormal. It also watches for privilege escalation. If a standard user suddenly attempts to modify administrator settings, ITDR detects that and blocks it.
So if we synthesize this, it really clarifies why EDR and ITDR absolutely must be used together. You can't just have one or the other.
You can't, because attackers don't stay in one lane. They use a tactic called lateral movement. Let's say an attacker wants to deploy ransomware. They don't usually breach the main server directly. They start by compromising a low-level employee's email account using a stolen password. That's an identity threat. ITDR is your only chance to catch them there.
But let's say they slip through.
They log into the email, read through messages, and figure out who the IT administrator is. Then, using that trusted internal email account, they send a highly targeted, malicious file to the IT admin.
And because the email comes from an internal colleague, the admin trusts it and opens it on their physical laptop.
Boom. Now the attacker has moved from the cloud identity to a physical endpoint. They drop malware onto that laptop. Now they are in the EDR domain. If you only have ITDR, you lose them the second they hit the laptop. If you only have EDR, you completely missed the compromised email account that started the whole thing.
Right. If you monitor only one side, you are practically guaranteeing the attacker can hide in the blind spot. You need both to catch that lateral movement.
Absolutely.
So what does this mean for the listener? Do we just throw away the floaties now that the watchful parents are here? Like, do we ditch basic antivirus and firewalls?
Not at all. Basic tools are still essential. Foundational layers. You still want basic antivirus to efficiently swat away the known low-hanging fruit. You still need spam filters and backups.
It's not about replacing the floaty. It's about building a layered defense.
Exactly. A safe day at the beach requires floaties for the kids, sure. But it also requires swim lessons, lifeguards, and watchful parents all working together. In IT, we call this a zero-trust architecture.
Zero trust. So that doesn't mean you literally mistrust your employees, right?
No, it means the network mistrusts everyone and everything by default. It constantly verifies the identity, the device health, and the access context before granting permission. Never trust, always verify.
And this is exactly how CDML Computer Services operates. They don't just hand organizations a floaty, they actively build and manage these comprehensive, proactive, layered defenses.
Right, because implementing EDR and ITDR is complex. The telemetry is noisy. If you turn these tools on without tuning them, you'll just drown in false positive alerts. CDML provides the expertise to actually monitor the environment, so small problems don't become major breaches where attackers have days to change rules or download files.
Plus, they handle the swim lessons, right? The security awareness training for employees, plus incident response planning.
Exactly. They are the watchful parents.
If you're listening to this and realizing your business might just be relying on a 10-year-old floaty, it is time to take action to protect your own business. You can visit cdml.com today to learn more. And while you're there, make sure to subscribe to the blog.
It's all about stripping away that false confidence and getting true visibility.
Exactly. Which leaves us with a final, somewhat chilling thought for you to ponder today. We've talked a lot about active monitoring and catching these subtle threats early. But given everything we've just discussed about how silent and invisible modern attackers are when using stolen identities, when was the last time you checked to ensure an attacker wasn't just quietly sitting in your network right now, totally undetected, reading your emails and hiding in plain sight? We're Jemmy and Nye. Thanks for listening. Till next time.